There's nothing greater than the wonder and illusion of magic. When it goes right, it can be one of the greatest spectacles from the world of entertainment. But when it goes horribly wrong, it can be even better.
Started to pull harder and harder and harder and harder, but it just wouldn't come out. It was absolutely as painful as it looks.
From the biggest names in the business.
It truly is one of the most dangerous effects.
There's no two ways around that. A spike has just gone into his hand.
To new talent trying to make their mark.
Got careless and it almost cost me my life.
It's absolutely lethal.
The first bucket of dirt came down with a thud. That hurt.
Magicians pushing boundaries to the extreme.
I'm not doing this because I have a death wish.
Whoosh, everything went black. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
This is what can happen when magic goes horribly wrong. Calhoun, Georgia, and a 45-year-old escapologist who named himself after one of the greats.
My name is Michael Anthony Mooney. That's my real name, but everybody calls me the Great Houdini.
Must have taken him hours to come up with that name.
Oh, I can't say it without laughing.
Terrible name, terrible. But the fact he's called himself the Great Houdini, for me, he's already won me over.
I met Joe Burris, he was a magician in the jail. And when we was in the cell together, he showed me this magic trick. And it just like, I know what I want to do when I get out of here. I want to be a magician, I want to entertain. Magic actually saved my life, to tell you the truth. I was at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I had 5,000 people there in the audience. I was the halftime highlight. I was scheduled to do a race car stunt. I was going to be tied to a 100-foot chain that was tied to the pace car, which is a race car. I think it went from 0 to 60 in a couple of seconds. It was a very fast car, faster than me.
And Michael's job is to get out of these restraints, of these chains and these locks, before all that slack in that chain is gone.
The object of the stunt is to get the shackles off your wrist and let the car just pull the chain down the track.
What a brilliant idea. You know, to make the handcuff escape really exciting, but he just hasn't thought about it.
He doesn't look like an escapologist. He doesn't behave like an escapologist. He is just a heavyweight guy who probably struggles to get up in the morning, and he wanted to do an escape stunt. It just doesn't work, does it? The two don't go together, do they?
When I told the track officials how to do it, I didn't specify, let's do a countdown. I should have been more specific, saying, hey, we're gonna go 3, 2, 1, go. Then I start getting myself out. But I didn't do that.
From 3, and when we hit 1, Mr. Walters here is gonna slam the gas, hammer the gas of the Camaro. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Escapologists get carried away by being Mr. Macho.
So that particular day, I thought, well, I'd get a little bit brave and bolder, and I blindfolded myself.
And that's where things start to go wrong.
And as they wrapped the chain around the shackle and everything, really didn't pay attention to safety.
Your safety at the end of the day is more important than whatever it is that you are going to be presenting for an audience.
The chain to the cuffs, the shackles, created a knot. I just was too complacent. Got careless and it almost cost me my life.
And they forget that, hang on, this is dangerous. I need to keep my wits about me and make sure this happens.
This stunt usually takes about less than 5 seconds. Couldn't actually see the car leave. If I would have not been blindfolded, I'm not gonna watch the car and come out just in time, but unfortunately, I took those aspects away. And then I remember the countdown.
3, 2, 1.
I'm standing there and then I felt vibration in the chain. I knew I was in trouble. I got this side off and went to get this other side off and got tangled up in the knot that was on the bar, and I just couldn't get out. And then the car took off.
Oh my God.
Just the pain. You can only imagine the pain.
He forgot that he's got to leave without him.
3, 2, 1.
That car helped me do the the best cartwheel I've ever done in my life, my only cartwheel that I've ever done.
Just think about it. Buy a chain that's got a little fake bit in the middle. You just break the little thing rather than breaking your arms. I mean, it's just an idea, just a little tip I thought I'd throw out there.
It was total darkness after that, because when it flipped me, my head hit the concrete, and I was in la-la land. You know, I was gone.
He could have been dead or limbless.
You know, I was laying on the pavement there, bleeding out of everywhere.
People bring children to race meetings.
He'll probably do it again.
I remember the track officials talking to me, you know, in and out of consciousness. I just woke up in my ICU. The surgeon that operated on my wrist and my leg, he said if I hadn't got this one side off, then what would have happened? I'd have got pulled, and it would have jerked my head back and would have broke my neck and killed me. But, so I was grateful to get the one side off. I had bandages everywhere. I couldn't bathe, I couldn't do anything. I had nurses that took care of me. My hands today, I can eat. Of course you could tell, you know. I can eat and do basic functions, but I think with what's happened, I think I'll just stick to the basic magic tricks. As far as the stunts, I had to retire from doing the stunts. If I had a couple more seconds, this side would have been clear. I'd have been celebrating with the crowd and everything, but there was no celebration that day.
I'll show you some stuff with some money, right? Yeah, we'll use you. Come in, we'll use you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Tricks. I'm a street magician. I'm a YouTuber. My videos have been seen by over 10 million people. So Troll Station, they're actually like an extreme prank channel, and they approached me to do like something with them, to team up with them in Covent Garden. And they had an idea of like a street magician kills member of the public.
I want to try a stunt, like a big trick.
When I got a big crowd around, I made sure there was no kids, because it was going to be a bit extreme, because they are extreme prank channel.
Has everyone seen, you know, like famous magicians, they saw a lady in half? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something a bit better. I'm going to cut someone and heal them.
Everyone was like, no way, are you doing it to me?
All right, does anyone want me to do it to him? So I cut and I heal. You? What do you mean? Like I cut you, like I cut and then I'll be able to heal you. Okay. With some scissors.
I had one of the guys from the channel actually in the audience, because he was going to be the guy I was going to do the big trick to.
If you come here for me, come here. Hey, we stand. Just come here, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. What's your name?
Gomez.
Gomez, nice to meet you, I'm Ryan.
He's an actor, so it was really good, it played really well. And then I used him, and then we went on to do it.
He sounds like he comes from Tilbury in Essex. Gomez! Yeah, of course he is. Really?
You can feel them, they are sharp, right? They're sharp, right? Yeah?
So word to the wise, if you're visiting a big city, you may be with a group of friends, and some bloke with badly spelt tattoos comes up and starts, I'm gonna cut you, right? Rather than gather round, run away.
You'll be fine, it won't hurt, all right?
Okay. Can I feel it, is it?
Yeah, you can feel it, you can touch it. It is sharp, okay? It'll only feel like a little prick. Are you sure you want me to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, watch. So I'm gonna take this, I want you to just take your hands out your pockets, take it out, put them behind your back. Just like that. And I need you to relax with me, okay? Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
I wanted to make it look as real as possible. So I made it look like to get him into like a hypnotic trance. So I was making him breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. So I wanted it to be so real. I didn't want anyone to think anything of it.
You're gonna feel a slight scratch, okay? You're gonna start to feel it now. Fuck!
And then blood started coming out and he drops to the floor. I run off. And literally everyone was just staring at him, which was quite crazy because no one even went to help.
They're just down there. Some people are still filming it. Jesus.
That's not really a classic magic plot. That's more like amateur surgery in the street.
And no one even went after me either. So it was like sort of like a good experiment, I think.
I think you've kind of crossed the line there.
April Fools!
I mean, if you want to end your career as a magician, I mean, that's how you do it, right?
Looking back on it now, it's a bit Yeah, it was a bit too much, I think. I think it was a bit too far.
What are you doing? You're running around with scissors and you've just pretended to get stabbed on the street. Are you mad?
I think it just left people with a really bad taste in their mouth, especially the guy who had his throat cut.
Ryan has just lost himself a summer of kids' parties.
You just can't do that. You just can't do it. You can really traumatise someone with that.
It was April Fool's.
Doesn't matter what it was.
I don't care what it is. You upset a lot of people. Okay?
Were you involved in this?
No, I witnessed it.
We all got in trouble, actually. The police come. We wasn't expecting it, and he actually got a fine.
Really? It's horrible. Horrible. Because he's a really good stooge. He's brilliant. I think he's really good. Awful, though.
But no matter how good you look and how well you've set the scene, there's one gig in magic that nothing can prepare you for. And this really is the sharp end.
I mean, obviously, circus family, presumably on your days off, you do circus-related stuff. You take the elephant for a walk, you know, go for a drive in the clown car, and then if you've got nothing else to do and you've got small children, about 2 or 5, one in nappies, you think, tell you what, why don't we get the local children round to have a look while I throw knives at them?
In a family, the Gallaghers, Connie Ann, 5 years old, and Colina Sue, 2.5, are a big help to Mother Luella, who is no mean hand with a handful of knives.
There was no television in those days. They just spent every evening after supper throwing knives at each other.
You wouldn't mess with Luella, would you? She's got a stern look, that lady.
Ann is a veteran at being a target for her mother's cutlery and doesn't turn a hair at Ma's cut-ups, even though Ma's pretty sharp with the cleavers.
And the kids look so angelic. I love the way they stand against the board, sort of holding one ear, like...
Toddlers are not known for their focus, are they? Let's say. They're known for crying, running off, and being easily distracted. I suppose that's not the best combination with knives.
Takes a steady eye and a stout heart to heave knives at the apple of your eye. But this female William Tell has no qualms and plenty of faith.
Please, Mama, don't take the ear off again. We were lucky last time. We popped an eye straight away, but it did hurt rather.
Well, basically, she didn't want those kids, and she's spent now so many years working on her alibi that her alibi's too good, so she's got to come up with a new way of killing them.
A near miss, but this miss says it's as good as a smile.
It's just interesting to see what you drive women to when they're not allowed to go to work. So it's probably happening in houses all around North London as we speak. The frustrated women are throwing knives at their babies, just like, I just want to go back to the office. But it's not worth it because the childcare is too expensive.
But what about when the tables are turned?
Hello, my name's Edward and I work at the circus. I'm aged 10 and I throw knives at my mum.
There is a case, a guy called Edward Pinder. I prefer this because the balance was redressed, where a 10-year-old kid was throwing knives at his mother. None of this feels right, but somehow that feels more right.
If you've ever seen a 10-year-old's bedroom, things are everywhere. I certainly wouldn't get them throwing knives at me.
Edward Pinder, this very young 10-year-old knife thrower, you find it quite amazing that a mother would let their son throw knives at them.
Can you imagine her trying to bring a new boyfriend around the house and her son's not happy? I'm not keen with this one.
No, it's wrong. Don't like it, think it's a terrible idea, stop it immediately.
We're journeying through magic's more horrible moments. One particular moment sticks out.
The trick with a metal spike is like Russian roulette, been brought up to date.
The idea of the spike effect is a little bit like what we see on the street with a 3-shell game. In this case, it's reverse psychology for the magician. It plays a spin on your brain. In the shell game, I'm trying to control the object and keep it away from you. In this case, I have to figure out where it is and make sure I avoid it.
So many magicians, you know, goes through their hand.
If you get a little bit confused while performing this trick, you should probably just stop. If you don't know where that spike is, you're gonna have an accident.
I love dangerous magic, but I just know that one can go wrong. I would never do it. Comes down to that human nature of us wanting to look at a car crash
It's been banned from the Magic Castle now. It is dangerous. It truly is one of the most dangerous effects in magic.
What body part do you need as a magician? Your hands. Oh. It's Darwinism in action. It's natural selection for magicians.
All to do a magic effect.
I've seen it go wrong so many times. It's such a risky thing to be doing.
One of the most disturbing ones for me was Manny Lindenfeld.
Manny Lindenfeld is an Israeli magician who's on stage doing this Russian roulette-style trick with a knife under paperbacks. Blindfolded, I believe, doesn't know exactly where the knife is. Clearly.
You've got to have good insurance company that day, haven't you? Jeez.
Forget sleight of hand, it's slice of hand.
But to really impress your audience, the best thing to do is shock them. Escapologists take the lead here, and what they're really good at is scaring the living daylights out of you.
My name is Dean Gunnarsson. I'm an escape artist, a daredevil, a stuntman. You know, I try to take my escapes to the extreme limits. I enjoyed magic, and most of my friends are magicians, but for me, I like the realism of the escape. I liked when a police officer locked you up in his handcuffs and his leg irons and threw you in a jail cell and said, there's no way you're gonna get out. Like a lot of people, I got interested in Houdini when I was about 10 years old.
Dean Gunnarsson is very important in this day and age.
Dean Gunnarsson is a very experienced escapologist. I've known of him for a long, long time.
Dean has really been one to push the boundaries a lot.
The jacket is off, ladies and gentlemen!
The art of escape is better as a result of Dean Gunnarsson.
He made it! How about that? Accidents will always happen with water escapes because it's just it's a finicky thing. You know, your body reacts to it differently. It's always a risk.
Like any big escape, it didn't just decide one day and do it the next day. I spent many, many months to prepare it and to practice holding my breath.
Being in a confined space is scary. It's frightening.
I do these things not because I have no fear. It's because I've had to overcome my fears. And one of the fears is claustrophobia. Here I am, 19, going to university, boom, it's my big stage, the biggest stage I'd ever faced in my young career as an escape artist.
Dean Gunnarsson arrives, he's got a white tuxedo, real showman, he's got the mullet hairstyle.
I had everything ready. I had the coffin with the chains, we had the police, we had the ambulance, and 10,000 people showed up.
He's handcuffed, chained, padlocked, in all sorts of shackles and that kind of thing. Then he's placed inside a wooden coffin, believe it or not. In a wooden coffin? Would you really want that? No. The coffin lid is then nailed on. It's nailed into place.
And when they close that lid, you're dark, you're isolated, you're total alone.
At that time, I would imagine that Dean starts to extricate himself in order to make his escape from the coffin, which is the big thing at the end. And he's got to escape and leave the coffin and swim out and float on the water.
Can you duck down? Yeah.
They hooked it to the crane, and then they raised it over to the river. So the idea was to get it to sink as quickly as it can. As scary as that sounds, when you're in there, you want to go down quickly.
People know you can't breathe in water. So if they hold their breath, they know how long it's taken. That's a nice little way of building up the tension because the audience then can sort of...
When you go underwater, you want your lungs full. So the first thing you have to do is push all your air out. Get rid of all the CO2 in your lungs. So that's what I did. I used my stomach, my diaphragm. I pushed everything out of my lungs, and I took a nice big lungful of air. And then when the coffin got about 2/3 of the way down, for some reason, it stopped sinking. It was kind of counterbalancing with the weight and the water. And I was stuck in an air pocket about 2/3 full of water. So I could feel the water level on my neck, and I'm holding my breath. And I wasn't sure exactly what was going on above. So I decided I would steal another breath of air. So again, I pushed all my air out, and when I went to breathe in to fill my lungs with that nice fresh air, the coffin sank.
Once you hit the water and the water gets into the coffin, that's it. No more air. That's when you start to panic.
It sank like a rock, just bloop. So now I not only got stuck underwater with very little air, I got stuck underwater with no air. Now I'm in trouble.
You need to work very, very quickly. Realistically, about 1.5 to 2 minutes. What you have to do is not panic. You have to conserve your energy. Once you're underwater, if you use your energy struggling, then you've lost it. It's not going to happen.
Your adrenaline's going, you're using more energy, so you have less time to escape. So I was able to get out of the chains. I remember putting my hands to my goggles and just forcing myself to relax. I couldn't scream, I couldn't yell. I'm 10 feet underwater. Nobody could hear my cries for help.
Bring it up, Ronnie.
And then I started to see little flashes of light, and then it was like whoosh. Everything went black, and I got sucked down a tunnel. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a freight train coming at me, or if it was the big man, or you know, the Grim Reaper shining his flashlight. But I saw it. Nearly 4 minutes underwater. You know, it's around the time when brain damage begins to occur. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't in pain, and I saw this light. It went from one extreme, from being something totally great and successful, to going totally wrong and dying.
He was pronounced officially, dead. I mean, I don't think you can push it much closer than that.
Okay, back. Would you ask you to get back here?
Everybody was quite upset. That was scary from their perspective. I mean, I was dead. You just got to roll the dice and see how they come up. And that day, I got lucky.
Hats off to him. That was a spectacular stunt. That's not a nice way to spend a Saturday afternoon.
The daddy of dangerous stunts was the one and only Harry Houdini.
The water torture cell escape was invented by Harry Houdini, and I think it was a way to try and transfer these river escapes into the theatre.
American escape artist Kristen Johnson, nicknamed Lady Houdini, has performed the water cell escape hundreds of times. On the 16th of January 2009, at a half-time basketball game with an audience of 17,000 people, things didn't go quite as planned.
We created a full view water torture cell, which enables the person to see the entire time I'm underwater.
The real danger comes in with how long are you holding your breath, and can you pick the locks and the handcuffs in a shorter period of time than you can hold your breath. Now, when you're relaxed, you can hold your breath much longer than if you're exerting energy. When Kristen's in the tank and she's exerting energy, so the biggest thing is, can you pick the locks quicker than the breath you can hold? At around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, I saw changes mostly in her skin color and just her motor skills in general. So I gave her my signal to get out. At 2:40, I gave her that signal. And that's when you see her start going to the top lock and working on that lock. And at 2 minutes and 48 seconds, or 8 seconds later, that's when you see her body convulse, head goes back, turn stiff, turn blue, and blacked out.
It's gut-wrenching watching the effect that you have on a loved one watching you potentially drown.
My emergency role kicks in, and that is to take the key that's on a lanyard around my neck, get the 2 locks off that's holding the lid in place, throw the lid to the ground, get to the top of the tank, and get her head above water. Fortunately, I had her out in about 9 seconds.
When I got out of the tank, I was waving to the crowd, and I looked down at Kevin, and he's like, "Come on, get down."
Her still immediately afterwards waving like it was okay. You know, people would assume that it was fake because, oh, she just faked being passed out. Now, look, she's waving, she's fine. What do you mean? That was, no, I was like, no, unless you've passed out, you don't understand that.
He was hustling me off to the locker room, and I thought he was acting so strange, and I turned to him and I said, "You had to get me out, didn't you?" And he said, "Yes."
Grown-up magicians know only too well it can all go horribly wrong. But what about the kids?
There's something beautiful about when kids want to try magic. You know it's not going to be executed with the finesse of the professional.
The trick has quite a sinister-looking young man who looks like he's wandered off an amateur stage version of Phantom of the Opera. It's a very confusing face mask he's wearing.
He's like a lad from the local estate. He's got a mask on and he's got a hoodie and he's coming out. And I thought he was going to rob the post office.
A volunteer, willing or otherwise, is brought on and sort of slid in one end. The bit of cardboard's about 8 foot long. She looked taller lying down, didn't she? What they've done is they've obviously seen a trick on the telly and thought, how can we do this? Well, clearly you have to have 2 women in a large tube of cardboard. That seems easy enough. Well, this is,
So when you start sawing through it, you start seeing the fact that the box is collapsing. To be fair, the box has to take the weight of a human being, or 2.
Sawed through the old cardboard. Whoop! Table flips over and one pops out one end. Fabulous. It's a beautiful dismount.
The best thing about it all is the fact that they don't try and style it out. I think so much more magic would be better if they just looked, laughed, and ran away.
I enjoyed this one more than I would watching someone do it properly. Not properly as in properly saw someone in half, but a proper magic trick.
And then the other woman in the other box realises, like, the game's up. She comes up and then she's thinking, how do I get off stage when my friend's already got a huge jam? She thinks, I know how to do it. I'll just fall off this table, like as if I can't walk properly as well. This is what all magic shows should be like. I mean, you could see Tommy Cooper turning his grave going, why didn't I think of this?
There's no other way to end that trick, really. Once it's gone wrong one end, you may as well just go whole hog.
He should probably sell that to the Magic Circle. That is exactly how that trick should be done.
And a rising star who's making an impression online is Texas magician Bryce Harney.
My name's Bryce. I got involved in magic when I was 10 and started doing YouTube when I was in high school, and that's when I started getting into the street magic. It was important to get the setting right because I wanted to create a different mood for this Halloween video, and I wanted it to stand out.
So it's Halloween, Bryce is on the streets, he's about to take a washer instead of a polo, which is what people normally use for this trick.
I wanted to make it a little darker, but that wasn't exactly the best option.
He places it in his mouth, swallows it, gets some string, and then starts to saw. And it gets to the stage where his neck is kind of contorted, it's all mushed up. And at this stage, it's where he's supposed to go bing and pull this washer out of his neck so it's onto the string. But unfortunately, he's still there. He's still struggling. He's still in a bit of pain.
He got the dental string, put it in his throat to try and pull it out. And as he was pulling it out, it actually got stuck at the last minute. He didn't mean for that to happen.
I'd rehearsed it a couple times without the washer, and this was the first time actually doing the full trick. So when I went to take the string out, it wasn't coming out, and I started to pull harder and harder and harder and harder, but it just wouldn't come out. And so I was eventually just yanking at it. It was absolutely as painful as it looks. I had to go to the bathroom after that. There was blood. I didn't include that in the video because I didn't want it to be gruesome, but in the bathroom, yeah, there was blood and there was definitely scarring for a couple weeks after that.
It wasn't nice to watch.
You can kind of imagine where the washer came out afterwards.
Despite Houdini's claim that the buried alive escape was impossible, it didn't deter Huddersfield-based escapologist Anthony Britton. He had to have a go at it in 2015 in a pub car park.
The sorts of the things that I've done in the past is exploding crates and getting out of straitjackets, straitjacket escapes inverted. I don't think I've got a death wish. I just love everything to do with escapology. This particular one was the 100-year-old buried alive challenge, which the great Houdini attempted it. He couldn't achieve it, and I felt that I could achieve it. Why not?
Anthony Britton, bless him, sort of a have-a-go escapologist.
This man has escaped from burning Rome floss in a straitjacket, and this is the man we hope will escape from 6 tons of soil.
Being buried alive, that's a stunt that is very dangerous.
I try and push myself to the maximum and hopefully it'll work out. Sometimes it hasn't, sometimes it has.
He did an escape for charity. The first shot we saw was a 6-foot deep hole and a digger next to him. And then suddenly they started to throw soil over him.
I felt the first bucket of dirt hitting me back, which came down with a thud. Crikey, that hurt.
You've got what looks like an afterthought of a bloke who's gone, yeah, anyway, I've got a digger in the garden, I'm having my garden done. You know what? Yeah, let's bury me alive. Let's bring it on. Fantastic.
Everybody was all prepped. If the worst comes to the worst, they knew what to do.
We genuinely have no idea if this is going to work. Judging from history, it won't.
Everything was going perfectly well.
Every time a scoop goes in the hole, the soil brushes more and more of his body, forcing more and more air out of his lungs.
It might look easy, but these things can go wrong.
You can hear the crowd chanting and screaming and everything else. And then all of a sudden it just goes silent. Soil has basically buried you at this point.
Escapologists seem to have this thing about buried alive. There's dozens and dozens of them that will have a go at this. It's not the safest escape in the world.
It's been about 6 minutes, and we've still got more soil to go. This is... I don't quite know what I'm watching.
But when you breathe out, your rib cage collapses. As I did that, the soil decided that it was going to fall into where once my rib cage was there. So when I went for a breath back, I couldn't expand my lungs. At that point, I started to feel myself going unconscious. Before I went into the grave, we decided that we were going to go with a throat mic. So the head groundman could hear what was happening down below. It was about 8 minutes into it that it completely went dead. That's when he called it a day. Got the spades on and the digger came round, did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Hang on, they're digging him out! They're digging him!
I could feel myself going under, and at that point, that's it. I just can't remember after that. I was out cold.
It's too dangerous. I wouldn't recommend anybody do it.
Oh my God, he's dead! He's dead! Oh my God! He's dead! Take this off the screen! Take this off the screen!
It's lethal.
Kids, if you're next to the ambulance, you need to move away from the ambulance.
Most people do say, once you've been buried alive, that is the end, really. I've learnt by it. So I won't say it was a fail.
Over now to Norway for escapology on an epic scale. Lord Christian has been wowing audiences with death-defying escapes since his debut on Norway's Got Talent in 2012. And let's just say he doesn't do things by halves.
The ice escape that Lord Christian did is one I wouldn't recommend.
I wanted to do something that was more extreme than I had done before. It was in a frozen lake. The ice on the lake was a meter thick. We cut a hole in the ice, and then we wanted me to jump into the hole, attached to handcuffs, chains, get loose, and then come back up through the hole.
I mean, that is very, very, very dangerous. To be chained and shackled and to be dropped in water anyway, but in Icelandic conditions, no.
The real danger there is you go down through a hole, and that's the only way up.
It's unbelievably stupid.
I think it was wrong because everything was so dark. It was in the evening, everything was dark, and the water was, you couldn't see nothing.
All the people had showed up, the TV was ready, I was sitting on the chair waiting to jump into the water, and I'm just breathing slowly, trying to lower my pulse, to be able to hold my breath longer, doing the breathing techniques. And then I jumped in. I went straight to the bottom. It took maybe 3 seconds or something because it was 8 meters deep there. And as this weight hit the bottom, it got pitch black because the mud was going up into the water, or particles. You could see nothing.
The freezing water, the lack of air, holding your breath for that amount of time, the fact that he could stray from beneath that hole and end up meters away from the hole, then nobody would find him.
The water is 2 degrees Celsius, so it's a little bit colder and the whole lake would freeze. And it's just not a pleasant environment to do something in. I spent around 3-4 minutes to get out of the weights and the handcuffs. And that's about expected time to what we rehearsed. As soon as I'm loose from this, I will float up because of the help of the wetsuit makes me float.
I mean, I would have expected underwater cameras so we could see the fact that, he's struggling, is there, here, whatever. But no, we had no vision whatsoever. All we had was the thought process of somebody being underwater, freezing conditions, no air. Is he out? Is he not? And is he going to make it?
After 3-4 minutes, I float up, and since the water was so muddy, I thought it was going to be better when I came further up, but it didn't. So I couldn't really see where the ice started. So when I float up, I hit my head on the ice, and it was. I knew I was in trouble then. I just figured I would try to stay in the same area and wait for the rescue diver. The rescue diver wasn't able to find me. I heard him diving, but I couldn't see him. So he could be a meter from me, and I just couldn't see him. When the ice freezes in the winter, it doesn't freeze totally flat. If it's wind, you get this kind of thing. So we did a lot of diving, and because of that diving, air accumulated underneath the ice in those pockets. I found an air pocket, and I was able to do some breathing in that air pocket and just wait for the mud to sink to the bottom again. Eventually, The mud it cleared up, and I was able to see the light from the hole. And then I swam to the hole and I emerged. And that was after 8 minutes. I didn't even know I was hurt and bleeding from my head. As soon as I came up, I saw the red on the snow. I was like, oh. In this icy water, even though you're wearing a wetsuit, it's freezing. So I had to get some time to get to myself and get some heat back into the body before I was even able to speak to anyone.
I would never do it, and I wouldn't have done it when I was in my late teens either, even though I was fearless then. That's something that you just do not attempt.
It's a stunt I wouldn't recommend anyone else to try. It's really, really dangerous to do something like this.
Another of Lord Christian's party pieces is an escape made famous by Houdini.
Milk can escape. It's not like a trick. This is real. You're underwater. You are holding your breath. You are opening real handcuffs and padlocks. So it's not an easy thing to do.
Lord Christian was asked by his good friend opera singer Are Hembre for a big finish for his Christmas show.
To teach Are this, we first needed to teach him how to pick the handcuffs, and then we had to teach him how to pick padlocks, and then we had to teach him how to hold his breath. He asked me if I wanted to join his Christmas concert to make it like a more magic touch on it. And I of course did, and I also thought, maybe I'd challenge him to do my milk can escape.
When Christian challenged me, I didn't know what to think, because I can hold my breath for 45 seconds and that's it, I thought. But I'm not so happy with water either, and handcuffs and locks, and so, but whatever, we try. I always like new things and challenging things, so why not?
And he wanted all the locks on in the first rounds, which is crazy, but he wanted to try the whole thing. So I locked it up and he went in and he did well. The handcuffs came out.
When the lid goes on, you think you need to hold your breath as long as possible. So you just try to be calm. To get up your hand over the lock and pick the locks, it's not easy. Then the panic takes you, and the seconds go very fast in the water.
Suddenly I see a lot of bubbles on the water. I just knew I had to get him out as soon as possible. It's only 10 seconds. When you have absolutely no air in your lungs, that feels like an hour. He was gasping for air when he came out and knocking the top of the can and totally panicking.
When you get panic, it's many things going through your head, and you don't think clear.
I don't think Are would do the milk can ever again.